We're making a color wheel. I'm using a plate. I sometimes use a compass, which is like this tool that makes circles, but not everybody has one of those. So I'm using this plate that fits on my paper here, and then I think a roll of tape should fit for a smaller circle. I'll do, you want to think about how much painting you want to do or how much room you want. So I'm just debating whether I want to do the outside of my tape or the inside of my tape. I think I'll do the outside of the tape. And I'm centering it, eyeballing that for centering. All right, so I have a circle within a circle here. And your color wheel is going to be divided into 12 colors. What I do is I take a ruler and I go crosshairs. So I find a center point. Going to eyeball that too. I think right around here seems to be equidistant, top and bottom for this line, and equidistant left and right for that one. Just eyeballing that. You can also use the ruler if you have the ruler in your hand. I have it in my hand and I'm eyeballing it, but you could do this. So I have a almost 7-inch plate. I'll center my ruler on the 7 so that I have the 7 and the 0. This is for me. You might have a smaller or bigger plate, but it's about 7 inches, so I'm centering my 7 inches on my ruler, then I can find the 3.5. So I was pretty close. I'll do that this way too. Center my 7 inches on my ruler, then mark my 3.5. And so yeah, I was a little bit northwest of the real place. And I might have been confused by where I put the tape. Maybe I'll check my tape again based on that. Maybe it's a little bit higher. That looks the same because I just grabbed a smaller roll of tape. It's the same. All right. That's good enough. Okay, and then, so we're using those crosshairs. We're going to do lightly a vertical and a horizontal using our center point. All right, so now you've divided your pie, we'll call it a pie, into 4. And we want 12, so we know 4 times 3 is 12. So we're going to roughly estimate again. It's a little bit harder to do this with a ruler. You could. We can check with a ruler, but we'll roughly estimate thirds of each of these quadrants. Roughly estimating. We want to use the center point when you're going across. So if I look about one that seems like everything's pretty even, let's just get this is not going to help for you because you'll have a different size circle, but let's say I have 1.25 inches. Should be about, they're all about 1.25 inches on mine, but it'll be different for yours. But that's one thing you can do is just double check with the ruler. What I'm going to do now is just go across, make sure you're on the center point, and you only need a line within the paint area, so that's between the 2 circles. This center will be blank. We'll put a triangle for the triad, the primary triad, but we'll keep this blank other than that. Okay, so we're just working my way, I'm just working my way around. making more substantial lines here. I didn't do it on this side. If you want to get your ruler right on the center really quickly, put the pencil there as a target, and then the ruler goes right up against that. Boom, boom. And I guess I can make this one stronger too. And I got this one here. So you're kind of splitting the difference between the two. And that we're using pencil, so you can always fix it if something feels really off. But we're going for, 98% rather than 100% perfect. So 98% perfect. And this looks 98% perfect to me. That's fine, maybe 97. Go a little bit higher up here. All right. Into it. So decide what's your warm side, what's your cool side. Usually, I mean, I don't know if this is a standard, but in my head, I'm thinking cool on the right, warm on the left. Let's look at a color wheel real quick. I have this mini one. You can buy a color wheel at the store. Oh, I got this mini color wheel. There's some that are bigger, like around this big, and you can move around, and they might have nifty little things like what happens to red violet when you add yellow. And then the back, it'll have color schemes. These are the color schemes. So we'll draw in the primary triad, or a triad. It doesn't have to be a primary triad, but the triangle represents a triad. But you can see that, I can do a triad with violet, green, and orange. That would be a secondary triad. Or I could do a tertiary, blue, violet, yellow, green, and red, orange. It's a tertiary triad. That's the triads. There's also tetrads, split complementary on this color wheel in particular, and it has some other little notes about color relationships. So the back side of this one is relationships. The front side is mixing. Making your own color wheel, you learn about both. You learn about relationships and mixing. It's useful to have this. It's also useful to have this, the value finders, these two little tools that I use regularly when working with color. We use value for any kind of art. Even if it's totally black and white, you're going to use your value. But specifically for color, the color wheel is helpful. So it doesn't have to be warm on the left and cool on the right, but I guess it is kind of a standard because you can see the way they have it set up here. We'll go ahead and do that. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to put yellow over here, put a Y. And then yellow, green, YG, green, G, blue, green, BG, blue, B, blue, violet, BV, violet, V, red, violet, RV, red, R, and red, orange, RO, orange, O, yellow, orange, YO. Okay, it's good to label it ahead of time because I've seen a lot of students put the wrong color in the wrong space or in the right space, right color in the wrong space, etc., whatever. And yeah, then you'd have to like cover it up and stuff. And it's a little bit harder with gouache than with acrylic. That's brings to mind materials. We're going to be using gouache today for this color wheel. We're using warm and cool versions of the different primaries. So we're going to have I just have some extra of the cool yellow, but we're going to be using a cool and a warm red, a cool and a warm blue, and a cool and a warm yellow. That's it. A lot of times when I do color wheels, I'll be using just one of each, but like they're called primary, which they could be mixed to make all the colors, and they're sort of a mix between the cool and the warm. We'll mix our own version of that for some of these colors. Let's go ahead and start with yellow. And the other materials we want are water and a brush and maybe some kind of rag or paper towel. Mainly be using this brush here. We'll start with the yellow, and we'll do the warms. We're working towards yellow orange. Our orange, I'm thinking my cadmium red is pretty orange. I'm thinking that might be what I use for orange. Maybe I'll start with my orange. This is my palette. It's glass. I'll show you here. Yeah, it's just a piece of glass. Like if I had a square piece, I'd probably tape the edges because it has sharp corners or pointy corners. A lot of people use duct tape for that. But this round one doesn't have any sharp corners. So this is my palette. I also have a portable palette which has a lid, which is nice if you're gonna throw it in a satchel or something. So I'm gonna try using the cadmium red just as my orange. Maybe I'll mix in a little bit of warm yellow with it. We'll see how it looks. Okay, this is a warm red, the cadmium, and this is my warm yellow. So the warm red already looks orange. I'm going to take a little bit of that. We don't need a lot for the color wheel. And then I'm going to grab I'm going from the side so that I don't mess up all the yellow. I don't want yellow orange, and I don't want red orange. So, all right, so that can be orange. I'm gonna mix this yellow now with what's on my brush. So I have a couple different choices for the orange. Maybe this is better. Maybe this I can add red and turn it into the red orange. So I'm going to go ahead and paint with this before I add yellow and get for yellow orange. I'm going to go ahead and just use, because I like this orange. And I'm going to dip a little touch of water. I'm going to dip my brush in the water a little bit so it make that flow. Just a little bit of water to help it flow. And you want to check your letters, make sure you're in the orange spot. Okay, so that was like a perfect flow of gouache. I got lucky. So I liked how that flow was. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and add more yellow. I might add some cool yellow since we're moving towards cool. And then my yellow will be a mix of the warm and the cool yellow. So I already have some warm yellow, so I'm gonna add a little bit of cool yellow now. And these are like things to play with. I'm not giving like a prescription, I don't think. It's okay. I think I encourage, I'm encouraging experimenting to get a feel for what the different co-primaries do. We call it co-primaries. Got the two different yellows, warm and cool, two different reds, etc. All right, so I'm gonna mix some of this cool yellow. I can mix in here because I already painted. I can mix in here because I already painted the orange. So I'm making a yellow orange now. So I'm taking some of this. Okay, that will work. Maybe I'll use the rest of this yellow too, because it can get, pretty close to yellow, to actual yellow. So maybe that's my yellow orange. I'll take a little touch of water, very small amount. Just barely dip my brush in my water to get some flow on here. Moving the brush around on the palette. Ready for my yellow orange. There's my yellow orange. All right, so for just yellow, I need to wipe out my brush. I'm gonna rinse it out and use my paper towel to dry it. Dry it off, because I just want yellow, warm yellow and cool yellow for my yellow. There's cool yellow. There's cool yellow. There's cool yellow, and now the warm yellow. Okay, so yes, I'm using warm yellow and cool yellow. And I have about even amounts here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and mix these two together. This feels pretty warm to me to represent you, because we want to move towards that. Actually, this could be a yellow orange, and it could have been in that spot. So what I'm going to do is put more cool yellow on my palette and just use what's on the brush, because I have a mixture of warm and cool on my brush. So I'm putting a little bit more cool yellow on my palette right there. I already have the mixture on my brush, so I'm going to go straight into that. And this will be my yellow. My yellow. And then yellow green will just be cool yellow. So we can think of this as cool yellow with a touch of warm, and then when we're moving towards cool, I'm just going to do cool yellow and cool blue for my yellow green, so I'll be super cool, which is my goal. I just want to be super cool. That's my New Year's resolution. Be super cool. A little touch of water from my brush to help with the mixture on my palette. Once again, not too much, just a tiny bit. I should get like an eyedropper for this, for the water, because it's very small. It's a very small amount. Yellow is a pretty translucent color. I can see my pencil marks through it. And I don't mind because we're doing the 99% perfect. Or what did I say? 95. Now yellow-green. All right, and for yellow-green, I'm just going to, well, maybe I'll use that yellow. No, I'm gonna use cool yellow. I'm gonna go straight for cool yellow. I'm sorry, we're cleaning out my brush. I'm deciding things as we go, but I've decided I want to be super cool. So cool yellow and cool blue. So just a little bit on my palette of each. My cool blue is my ultramarine blue. All right, we're gonna make blue-green after that. So I don't want to use I don't want to just mix these two together. My brush is pretty clean. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little bit of blue into this yellow. For my yellow-green. Right, you might decide you want more yellow, or less. Like if it's too yellow. So I'm in my brain, in my mind, I'm thinking, is this yellowy enough? I think I want it to be a little bit more yellowy. So I'll put a little bit more of that right there. That's the cool yellow. Lemon yellow, and I'm going to just go ahead. I'll start from where I was with that yellow. Instead of mixing it all in, I want to see how it looks first, and this is perfect the way it is. If I mixed it all in, I would have had to open up the tube again. So this is perfect right there. That's a nice yellow-green. I ended up going towards cool when I wasn't done with the warm. My plan was to go to the warm, but that things happen where you change what you're doing. So I'm going towards the cool. That needed more water. It's dragging. Right. Okay, yellow-green. All right. So you can see this is my yellow-green. This is my green that's more green. I want to add a little touch more blue to this green and make it slightly more towards the blue, just a little bit. And then when I do my blue-green, you can guess that I'm just going to put my brush straight into that blue, because the one after that is straight blue, which I'll probably be mixing warm and cool blue. All right, so now I'm using just green. Put my palette down so that I can move my paper. Better angle for the rotation of my wrist here. Okay, that is green. Now for blue-green, am I recording? Yeah. No, that was green. Now for blue-green. So I'm taking my brush straight into the blue. And I can go a little bit into the green too, because it looks very blue right now. All right, that's blue-green. There. A little bit of water. Okay, happy with that. Rotate my paper again. Okay. Blue, green, now straight blue. This is gonna be for what I wanna do. I wanna mix warm and cool blues. Rinsing out the brush, wiping it off. So a little bit of warm, a little bit of cool blue on my palette. My warm blue is my phthalo blue. Okay, take a little bit of this and mix it in here. That's nice. Okay. You probably see me turning the brush over. That's because the paint's starting to get used up on one side. Now I'm trying to use the corner, but I should just reload my brush. All right, that'll work. Okay, I'm gonna use my cold red. So we're not quite to warm yet. We're still in cold. Violet is cold, but I'm using my cold red. That's why, because it's still making a cool color. I could just use cool blue, pure cool blue, the ultramarine with that for the violet. Maybe I'll do that. Okay. I think I'll stay super cool. So I'm gonna use my cool red and my cool blue together, and but I'm gonna leave the stuff on my brush because I'm not worried about that little bit of the mixtured blue. I'll start with the blue and add a touch of red until I have what appears to be violet. more red. But we don't want to get to red violet. Just going for a classic lollipop purple. Need a little touch of water in my mixture for flow. And I'm ready for my, I made pure violet actually. It looks very dark there. That's okay. Blue violet, I'm just going to mix my violet right here with my blue. Putting a little bit of water on the brush. Okay. So yes, it's pretty dark. I'm tempted to do a little scraping just to show the undertone of it. I'll go ahead and do that with the palette knife. So I'm going to go scrape towards my red violet, just because I don't want to scrape downwards and mess up the color wheel. So I'm scraping towards the red violet. So this scraping, taking off a little bit of the buildup there, it shows that that's violet. And I'm going to scrape away a little bit of this blue violet. And you can see it there. So it's kind of nice just to see it built up and it with some of it scraped away. The red violet will cover that just fine. So now I'm going to mix more cool red. More cool red. So I'm going to take violet and mix it in with this for a red violet. You see I'm approaching the violet to get a little bit more as I'm trying to pull, but I don't want to use all the violet because I'm doing a little bit at a time until I get to what I consider a nice red violet. And that's it right there, I think. Put a little bit of water on the brush. Mix that around. Mix that around, and then you can paint red violet. And I don't feel like I need to do a scraping on the red violet. The hue is pretty visible. Okay, that's my red violet. Now red, I'm going to rinse out my brush because I want to do warm and cool red together. I have this warm red from before, put a little bit more cool red here. And I'm moving from this one using cool red. I'm going to use the cool red as my base, I think. So I'm just going to take some of this and go into that. All right, that's my red. I'm happy with that. The next one is red orange, so it'll just be taking this brush and going in there. But I do need a little bit of water for flow. So this is my red, loosening it up a little bit with the water. All right, that was easy. Now red orange. So I'm just taking what's on the brush and I'm going to mix it into the warm red, and it's going to look like a red orange. If I need more red, I can go over here. That was red. This is red orange. So and my red might be a little bit on the orangey side actually, but it's fine. It's close enough. It's within the bounds of what would be considered red. This is in between orange and red orange maybe, so I'm going to go push it a little bit further so that it's obviously red orange. So I'm just mixing until I think using all of this red mixture that I made. Now it's red orange. All right, all the colors are there. We didn't do the triangle yet. So the triangle, you could do it before too, when it's dry, when you don't have wet paint. We're gonna draw. You can go. Yeah. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go over it. I did it I didn't. I waited till after, which I shouldn't have. I should have done the triangle first. But we'll just do it lightly. So we want to make a line between red and blue. Try to find the center. Do a light line for your primary triad. Do a light line. And you can make it darker later when you can use a ruler on the wet paint, because it won't be wet paint anymore. When you can use a ruler on the paint after it's dry. That's what I'm trying to say. So red, blue, and yellow. So we're now going a light line to the center point of the red, and a light line to the center point of the blue. That's our primary triad. And we will call this RYB wheel. RYB wheel. So RYB, red, yellow, blue color wheel. We will also be making, not in this video, but there won't be a video. You'll be making a CMY color wheel using cyan, magenta, and yellow. And using what you've learned with this one, you'll be able to replicate the process, but using cyan, magenta, and yellow. It's a little bit different. All right. I hope you're happy with your wheel, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you've done. All right, thanks. Bye.